Welcome to today's live class. First of all, I want to wish everyone happy new month. So today's class, we'll be talking about CSS variables, CSS specificity, background and background images. So those are the three topics we are going to be talking about. Previously, I've dropped topics. I've dropped tutorials on CSS color. So I would advise that you all check it out on YouTube. Is online now, so you can check it out. So today we'll be talking about CSS variable. So for this class, we'll be using our VS Code, and we'll also be using our live server extension, and we'll be doing the work in the browser here. So what I have here, I have this specificity.html will be the document I'll be using for this class. So I have this setup. I have this setup here. I have my h1 in my body, and I have a div also here. So let's jump into it. So if I open this with live server, so this is what we have. So the first thing we are going to do is we want to talk about this is what I have as my. We want to talk about CSS variable. So I'll also be using both mdndoc and I'll also be W3 school, so that we can be able to get some content there. So now if I search for CSS variable mdndoc, so variable is just a way of how we are going to use what we have, or our declaration in CSS. So it's more efficient that we have variables in our we use CSS variables, and it all started with declaration. So what I have here is CSS the declaration. So I already linked my specificity.html with my index.css. So I'll just be moving to index.css. So now this is my index.css. I don't have anything there. So we'll start. To start with CSS variable, I'll start with comments. If you are just starting and you want to make a comment, you can press Ctrl // It will give you a comment sample. So CSS variables. So I will start with how do we declare CSS variable. If you look at what we have here in the doc, they said it's just a means of making a custom property. It helps us to avoid the repetition. Like if you have something like our color is red, we have our color is red in our code like this. You have our color is red now, but if you want to keep using it, you have to keep entering. You have to keep putting red. But you can have a color like that's more than this. You can have like HSL, and if you check, I already made a video on color. So although I'm making a bit revision on it. So CSS variable helps us to avoid repetition, and it makes our code to be reusable, and also it makes our code to be neat. So don't mind the suggestion I have. So to start with CSS variable, before we can use it, we have to declare it. So it doesn't just come naturally. We have to declare it. So how do we declare CSS variable? We start by declaring with our pseudo element of root. Then we are going to so inside this, sorry, it is root now. So this is where we are going to declare all our values. This is where we're going to declare it. So if you want to declare, if you want to make something a CSS variable, you have to start with this double sign, then the name of the variable. I want to say a background image. If this is what I want to, our background color, sorry, I want to make it a background color. And let's assume I just want to use in the previous video I released, I have I make explanation on different type of color. These are S color. As I've explained there, just that we have different way of writing color. X code is also a way of writing our color. How do we get about it? It takes 6 or 3 value, and it takes 6 or 3 value, and the value range from we have red, green, and blue. So the first 2 value after these hash keys, the first 2 value is the value for the red, while the second 2 value is the value for the green, and the last 2 is the value for the for blue. So for example, now if I want to have red, so and it takes from maximum of 0 to 9. We can have 0 to 9, we can put 0 to 9, and we can have A to F together with it. These are the value that we can put inside sorry. These are the value we can put inside S code. Now, if I'm taking the maximum, I want it to be red, then FF is the maximum. So if I put FF here as maximum, I only want it to be red. Then my green have to be 0, so it has to be 0, 0. Then my blue too have to be 0, 0. So this will give me a red color. This will give me a red color, just because I'm assigning it here as a variable. That's why it's not the same. But if I'm using it as a color, you see it. So this is how we have a red color. Now let's declare more. Okay, we have it, this red. So if you are, and there is a shortcut, since this I said 6, we can also take 3, a minimum of 3. So if I remove this and I put F00, it will also give us red, because our F here is maximum, our 0 here is the minimum for the for green and blue. So we are going to have red. So the same thing, if you want green also, that means our red have to be 0, then red, green, then our green have to be maximum, that is F, then our blue have to be 0. So this one will give us green. Same thing if we want blue, it has to be 00 F, as you have guessed. So these are ways of writing color. So you can also check the tutorial for more details about it. So I'm setting my background color here as blue. So I can also set my color here as let's see, FFF. Our FFF is, and this one is maximum. We are taking F as maximum. We are taking the red as maximum, green as maximum, and blue as maximum. So we are going to be having white color. The same thing, that's why you see most of the, you see F in 6 places, it's still the same thing. We are having white. So if you are taking the minimum, that is 0, 0, 0, that will be black. So that will be black. So I'm taking F as my color. And we can also add more. You can add as much as possible based on the project you are using. I can give my padding. I can declare a variable of padding. Let's say padding large. Let's say padding large. Let's say I want to give it a 30 pixel. Also, I also explained the CSS units in one of the tutorial. I will come about units being the only absolute unit we have. So we have rem, we have m, and we have percentage, we have vh, and we have vh, and we have vw. That's a viewport item, viewport width. So you can also check in other tutorials. So I'm giving a padding of large of 30 pixels. I can give a margin. Let me say a margin small. You can give it the name you want. Just that the convention is that it has to start with these 2 letter, or these 2 sign, then comes with the name we are going to be using. So that's how we declare variable. And from my documents here, we can make a declaration local and global. For now, we are starting with global. So this means that this root this will create this in the DOM element. So it is global. You can use this anywhere in your CSS code. So that makes it very, very easy. What's this? I don't want your suggestion. So this is what we have here. No, so by now I've declared my variables here. So I can save. If I save, you expect that nothing will happen. You expect that nothing will happen here. Okay, you expect that nothing will happen here because I have not made any changes to the code. So now I have, if I go to what I have here, now let's go back to our HTML. Now I have an heading, and I have well, let's start with the body. Let's start with styling the body. Now I have body. This is my body here. I can give it a background color. A background. I don't want the suggestion to take most of, so that people who is coding along. So now I want to use this background color I've set. How do we use it? We use it by stating var. So that's what we are telling it is a variable. Then you close it like this. Then the value, if I start pressing the double for this double dash, this double dash, it will now bring suggestion. If you are using VS Code will bring the suggestions for you. You can see I have the background color here. So if I choose this now and save, so you can see my background color has changed. This is a better way, because if I'm going to be using this code, it's a better way of writing this, like writing blue every time I want to use it. This is a better way of doing it. This is a better way of doing it. So my background color is this. Now I can also use my color also. My color also as I can use my color as, my color here should just be this color I've declared. But the best way you can, if you want suggestion, but if you don't want suggestion, you can just write it out yourself like this. Well, I would advise you use suggestion. One of the ways we are developer is being smart about what we are doing. So we can just use this color. So invariably it will just notice. So we can see now our color has changed to white. So this is a better way, because if you are writing a large project, you can't keep writing white. And suppose that if we need to make a change, imagine I want to just change this one to red. I want to change it to red. I don't need to start, like if I've written 1,000 lines of code, I don't need to go back to each and every one of them to change it. I just need to change it here. My 0 here is my F here, F00, that's my red. Then if I save, it will change to red. So these are better way of writing code and being efficient. As it's also one way of keeping our code dry. Do not repeat yourself. So I'll just move to white because this color is yeah, I think it's better. So also what I have, I don't know why these things. So so we also have this, how to declare it global. That means any place you can use it. So if I go to my index here also, I have a paragraph, or I can choose a class of text. If I go back here and I choose a class of text, I think yesterday class we have been taught about how you can different type of selector. So I'll be using class selector of text now. So now I can give it a padding. I can give it a padding using what we have the padding large. So and it will work. If you can see now on our screen now, we have a little bit of padding around this our Peter. So these are way of using CSS variables. So, and if I'm checking what I have in my documents also, if I check what I have in my documents also. So now also, one good thing about CSS variable is that we can always have a fallback value. We can always have a fallback value, which we are not going to. If suppose here now, if I'm commenting this out and I want to write a code and I just write F2 and I didn't finish it. If I save, you can see now this color is not being implemented. This color is not being implemented because it's telling you that this property value is not. But now you can see now I have issue now. My code, I can't see anything. But with CSS variable, we always have we can always get a fallback value, and that will be the other value here. After this, after our main value that we declare, you can also declare another one that you can use as a fallback value. If this assuming that this background color is not available, let me comment it out like this. That is Ctrl//. If I comment this out and I save, now you can see now it's using my pink, because it looks at the root folder, the root elements here, or the root selector here. It look at it here, and it couldn't see this background color. So definitely it has to fall back to this pink. So you can see that we have a way to thank CSS for that. Because normally your code is supposed to break, or you're supposed to have a blank space. But because we have this this as a fallback, we can easily use it. So this is one of the advantage of using CSS variable. So you can always provide a fallback value if that one is not available. Just like this now, if I'm saying if this padding large is not there, I can tell him to use a padding of 20 or let's say 10 pixels. So if this, so nothing will happen. It will not take the first value. Only when the first value is not available, that's when it will take this the second value. If I comment this out, comment it back, comment it in also, and save, then our main blue color is back, because that's the one we set. So these are ways of setting variables. So you can just, this is just a way, and as we go on with the class, we'll be using the CSS variable with others, with other classes. So that's just about it. Let me see what I have here. So that's, we can use it. So our advantage of using CSS variable is easier. It makes the code easier to read, that it provides you with more understanding. So okay, now I think I've not explained how we can declare it local. Now what we have made before is declaration in global. For example, now okay, here you can see all my elements here have the color of white. But suppose I want this text to have a color of red or yellow. Now instead, I can with CSS variable, the style can also override each other. Now what I only need to do is just that I can redeclare the background color here. I can redeclare the background color here to be red. Wow, so I might think this empty. Okay. This should work. Sorry, let me check something. This should work. Yeah. I'm sure this, I'm writing the same thing. It's the same thing. Wow. So, okay. Let's assume, I'll come back to this. Hopefully I'll get why it's not working, but it's supposed to work. Now, assuming I can also declare a local value here. For here now, if I declare this, like I want, let's say I can say text color. I want a text color of, let's say, red. So now, as I've declared it here now, I can use my color here as text color. So it's, so now the text color here is red. Now, if there's any element outside this, okay, let me just create another element here. Let me just create our P. This is a way of creating. I can give a P if a class. This is how you use If you want to use a class, since in our CSS, our class, the symbol is a dot, so you can just use it here also. Dot. I can say second text. You can also give it an ID, because our symbol for ID is hash key. So you can just hash key of second text. So this will create a text. I would like to delete this. This will create a text of a text that has a class of second text, and that also has an ID of second text. So I can just create lorem 10 here as domain text. If I save now, we have this. Now, if you look at it, it is only this middle one that is having the red color. If I try to use what do I declare? Okay, text 2. Thank you for the suggestion. If I try to use this text 2, now I already have this text color. Now, if I try to use my color here to be this text 2, let me just say var. Let me write it out, and we have our text color. If I save this, you notice that this doesn't work because this text color is declared locally. And if something is declared locally, those who have a bit knowledge of JavaScript, it's declared locally, you can't access it outside that scope. It's declared within this scope, within this text selector. Let's come back to CSS as it talk. It's been declared inside this text selector. You can't have access to it. So by declaring this text color, we are having a local variable of text color which cannot be accessed outside this place. So these are ways to create local variable. So these are ways that you can use as you progress on with your journey in CSS, because it will go a long way, and somebody reading your code will be happy that, wow, this is a very good code. So I said makes the fonts, like you can also, for example, here, if we declare our index.css, I can also declare a font size. I can declare a font size. I talk about font size a lot in these CSS units. So if I declare a font size there of 30 pixels here, so I can easily come here and give it a font size of this font size. Once you press the hyphen twice, the suggestion will come, and then you can just select. Then CSS will know that it's going to bring in variables, so you don't need to stress yourself. So if I click this, so the font size here is now related to this. So if I increase this to 50, it looks like I didn't save something also. Sorry. Okay, it is second text. Okay. The reason why, because that's just it's not text 2, it's second text. So you can see now the font size here is now larger than the other one because it's 50%. So this one good thing about variables is that if I'm having a lot of words I've given this, I can just come back here and just reduce it here, and it will implement. There's nothing you can't. You can also declare the font family. Anything you can declare it here. You can declare your gap, your margin, everything. So now you can also. So another way, you can just give it a fallback like 20 pixel, and that will work. So if this let's say 10 pixel. So if this one did not work, if this 10 pixel did not work, if this 20 is not here, then it will make use of this 10 pixel. So this is a better way of writing. Our advice of writing your code is to make it neater, and you can easily make it reusable. Almost all libraries like Bootstrap, Material UI, and other things like that, they make also use of CSS variable, because it's a better way of writing our code. So that's all I have concerning CSS variable. It's easier to write in media query. So if you are writing a media query also, it will be easier to change it. Just as you are changing it it will just be like a local definition. You can change it inside your media query. So that's all about that with CSS variable. So I hope you have a introductory knowledge of it. So the second topic we'll be moving at is our CSS specificity. So that's the second topic we'll be moving at. And I would like us to, because most especially I like using W3 School because it will explain it to you like as if you are just starting. So if I search for CSS specificity here, W3 School, W3 School, I think I have something like, no, this is not CSS specificity, specificity. So I have this here. Now I said, so and what I have here, specificity is the means by which browser decide which CSS property value are the most relevant to an element. CSS specificity comes in when you have two styling, when you have two styling related to an element. So that's what we are going to be doing now. If I move to my CSS file here, now I can just come down here. Let me just write. I would like to close this by erasing this so that my screen will be much, I'll have more space. So I have CSS specificity. How specific is it? So if we are, what we are using it for is if you are having two or three styles related to an element, how does it work? Which one will be the related? For example, now in my text here, now I already give a styling to my text here. Now let me come down here. This is what we have before. These are my color, but I'm deleting all this now. And if you look at it, there's a color of white on it. Now I give it a color. I give it a color of brown, and I save this and I go back to the code. Now the color here has changed to brown. Let me give it yellow green. Now the color here have changed to yellow green. Why is it like that? And there's already a color here. We have a color here that we have declared here. Already a color here that we already declared. What happened? Why does it change? That is where CSS specificity comes in. Which one is specific? That means now, judging with this, we know that our second value here, this our second selector here is the one that is more specific. But why? So that's what we are going to be answering in this lesson. So now, so specificity only applies when the same element is targeted by multiple declaration. We already have a declaration here. This our text here is this, and we have another text here, which is this. So how do they? Why is this one taking precedence? The first thing we need to know that CSS read the code from top to bottom, So the one you see at the top wants to keep it in its memory, and it reach the bottom one. It will take the bottom one if they are of the same level of specificity. So if they have the same cascade value. So I'll still be using this. I'll still be using this, and let's dive a little bit into it using this we are going to be using this document. Now we are going to know we have, as we have already been taught, we have CSS, we have ID selector. How we can style. Let's start with we have inline styling. Number one, we have inline styling. We also have, we can also use, we have inline styling, we have external. We have external, we have external styling. This external styling we are doing. This external styling that we are doing, we are bringing another file into our HTML file. So the first thing is that whatever we write, if we are giving a value, a color, or a value to a selector, inline styling, we override it. And I believe last class, yesterday class did justification to what we mean by inline styling. For example, now let's go to our P tag, and I want to give it a style. I want to give it a color. I want to give it a color a color of, let me just choose F3, F2, F3, 2, 4. Let's assume, okay, yeah, I finally arrive at a color. So I'm giving you this color now. If I save, you notice that this thing have changed. So what we are talking about is that in the order of specificity, everything, if an element is being, if two elements are being targeted and one has inline styling, the inline styling will override. That is what we call it. The inline styling will override the external styling we have here. It will override it. Whatever that is there, it will what? It will override it. So now, and then we are going to make some kind of calculations or some kind of notation here. Now, the way inline the cascading works, or the specificity work is this. Now we are going to start with this is how it works. It works in this order. It works in this order. Sorry. It works in this order. In the first one is inline. So inline is this. Then the second one is ID selector. If you are using our ID selector, it works with this. No, so now the second one is this. And the third one is our class selector. So once we have our class selector, it will be this how it works. So if there's no inline styling, but we have ID and a class selector, the class selector will go ahead. So if you don't have an inline styling and we have ID and class selector, the ID will go first before we have our class selector. So now we also have our elements. If you are selecting an element or a tag, these are the order. This is the order in which it is going to cascade. We have our inline, we have our ID, we have this. So now let's give them value. Let's assume this is 0, is 0, is 0, and is 0. Sorry, what did I just do? Okay, now this one is also 0. Why this one is also 0? So now, if you look at now, let's see this now. The first one here. Now we're having two classes. We're having a class here of text. We want to see why it gives us green. Now, if you look at it now, here there's no inline styling here. This is 0. This value here, I'll be using comments to do it. This value here, we do not have an ID, so it's also be 0. But what we have here is what? Is a class. Let's give it a 1 value. And what's the last one? We don't have. There's no elements here, so I give it 0. So we have this 0, 0, 0. Now, how it works is this. When CSS is reading it, it will look at the first one. If you check the one that has the highest value of 1. If this one is the one that have 1, it will just take this. It will ignore all this. It will not compare this. No matter if this one is 1 million. If the value here, maybe we are having a lot of dB and it's 1 million, CSS will ignore it if he has found what he needs here at the beginning. So the value here is 0. Now let's go back to our code. Now, if you look at this here is 0, and here now let's come back to this also. This one too is like this. We don't have an inline styling here. We don't have an ID. We have a class, and we have 0 here. First, let me explain this before we move to the inline styling. I think we have this. Like this. So I will remove this style here. I will cut it away. Then I will save now. Now let's go back to index.css. So now let's go back to our index.css. Now, if you look at it now, both this text here, they have the same value. But let me just give this something that we can see very well first. Okay, it's something we can see. Now, they both have the same value. Both when the CSS is reading it, it will read this the first value is 0, the second value is 0, but the third one is the same thing. Now, when you reach there, and this one too is also the same thing. What it's going to do is this. Because what is going to use to judge that what come last, because this value here is the one that come last, so it will be the one that is going to select. So now if I move this up now and I drop it here above this, if I drop it above this now, and I save, you can see now our color now has changed to red. Our color has changed to red because both of them have the same value, have the same value, but this one is the last. That's why it's taking the red color. Now, so that's the first thing. Let's assume we also have this same text. We're also having an ID. Let me check my CSS if there's an ID there. We have our specificity.index. Sorry, I don't know why this thing is not just dropping away. So I hope you can see the code clearly. So now we have a class of text now. I want to add an ID attribute of, let's say, text2. Yeah, it's still unique. Just the same value doesn't mean it's still unique. Now we have an ID of text. Now let me go down here and I want to add text. Let me give it a color of lemon. Okay. Let me give this lemon chiffon as the color. Now I save. Now, if you look at it, it's taking this color. Let me look for one that you can see clearly. Let me use HSL. Once you check the colors, the topic I did, you are going to this CSS color. You are going to understand this HSL better. It's also a means of selecting color. This H stands for hue. That is 0 to 360. So the highest is 360 and the lowest is 0. So this our X is what for saturation. That is if you give it a 0 saturation, it will be gray. And if you give it this, the 0% will give us gray, but I don't want to be gray, so I want to be 70. Let's say 73%. The lightness or 0 is dark and 100% is white. So let's give it a 50% here. So if I say we have this, you can see we have this color. How does it arrive at this? Now, what if I put this one? We can summarily say that because this value here is at the end and all these two are at the top, that's why it's selecting this. But let's move it here and put it above all other ones and see what we'll have here. Now you can see that it still remains the same thing, how and why. Now, as we have said in this order now, let's calculate our specificity for this value. For this our text, we can say we don't have, it's not an inner styling, it's going to be 0, but we have an ID. It's an ID, we are using an ID selector, that will be 1, and the other one is 0, 0. As I've said, when CSS is reading this, it will start with the first one. Now, let me just copy this one to here so that we'll have everything smoothly. Okay. The way we are reading it is the way the CSS2 will read it. Now, when it's checked the first one, it is 0. Now, it will just first check it. The second one, both three values, this one is 0, is 0, 0. No, none of them has the highest value. Let me check the next one. Let me check the next one. Once you check the next one is ID attribute here. You know that this is 1. Once you see one, it will also check because this one too can be 1 also. If they have the same value of specificity, we check them also and compare. But this one have 1, so when it compares with this one, you know that this one is the highest. And when it's finally compared with this one too, we know that no, this one is that. That's why it's going to take this color as its color. So this one will win as CSS specificity win. Like if there are 2 or more CSS rules that point to the same element, the selector with the highest specificity value will win, and its style declaration will be applied to that HTML element. So it is this selector, this ID selector that wins. So it is the style that will apply to this P value. So that's why we have this color here. So that is how we go about how to select it. Now, suppose now I will now go back to this. I'll go back to this this value now. I will now paste what I deleted before. Oh, sorry. Okay, now I want to add an inline styling now. If I had an inline styling here, our style here, let's just say a color of, let's just give it any color. What could it be? Let's just give it a color of black to avoid a lot of guessing. Now, if I save now, you notice our color have changed to black. What's happened? How did it happen? How it happened is this. It happens because it's calculated this one, the first one is 1 for this, then it doesn't have 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. So that's why this is how you calculate it. This is how you calculate it, and it selects this one. So this one we can use. So what we are saying in essence is that our inline style, we override our ID style, ID attribute styling. It will override it. It will override anything inside. That's why we say that it will override everything inside our external styling sheets. Anything that is there, it will override it, unless the further discussion we are going to be having now. So these are the way we can deal with it, because this is very, very important. Because if you are working with code, you can just select something and you apply a style to it, and bam, nothing will happen to it. And the best way, and nothing will happen. What do you think? Then you now start, and what could be the problem? I added the color of red, but what is happening? The reason is that you have to learn about the specificity, how they weigh, and which color is going to use. So that's just about CSS specificity. And I would like us to check the MDN doc for select. So this applied to our type selector, either our H1 or our class selector. Our universal selector, just like which I'm going to explain that, they don't have any effect on specificity. They are always is 0. So now the question is this: how do we now override our inline styling? Now, assuming someone have written this and I need to override it, how do I override it? Then that is where the last option comes in with important. So if I go back to my CSS now, I don't know why this is coming. So if I go back to my CSS now, but if I need this, this is my second text now. Yeah, if I need this, for example, if I need this is my text, regardless of where it is, I want it to be, you can see there's a suggestion there. If I want it to be the color I want, because at times CSS might be frustrating, yes, that's true. But at times now, you are working on an existing code base, and you are trying to apply your own value or your own styling, but you're applying it is not working. What happened? Then when you check, you notice that there is an ID, an inline styling there that is having more specificity than others. So how do you do? What is the next thing for you to do? Then that's where the importance come in. Then where someone says it's also not like it's not part of it's not like, it's technically important, has nothing to do with specificity. It doesn't have anything to do with it, but it's just trying to enforce, like telling the CSS that you are going to use this. That means that is just a way we can use to override this our inline style. So if I put important here, as it has been suggested like this, if I put it here and I save, now let's see what the color I'm going to have now. You can see now I now have this yellow-green color. Regardless of what I have there, wherever I put it, if I put it last, if I put it anywhere, it's going to be the one to override. So now if you check now, there's a lot of warning about it's not always recommend that we are going to be using importance. Yes, it's not always recommend. It's just a bad practice, as it's been said. So because you start having, like now, the only way I can override this one, suppose that this one is at the bottom of my code, the only way I can overwrite it is I have to write another one down it, except that I can't be able to override it. So if I want to override the this text now, the color here now, I have to put, if I'm declaring another one here, I have to put an important here. Like for example, now I'm going to put our text here. If I'm putting our color here as yellow, why is yellow coming? Rebecca, I think there is something like Rebecca purple. Okay, yes, Rebecca purple. Now, the only way I can override this is putting it like this. So it's just the same way. So now we have this. It's the reason why now it's just like the better way we can also calculate it is like, let's put important here. The reason why I'm not putting it is just like you have seen, it's not under the cascading CSM the styling. That's why I'm not putting it here. So we have this 0. So now we can just say that this one have for this one now it has 1 here, and this one too here it has 1, 1, it also have 1 0 0 1 0 1 0 1 0 here. So it have this. So the only way CSS will only use that, since both of them are doing since both of them are having the same specificity, the best way it can override it is the second one. Just like we said before, that CSS read from the top to bottom. So it's going to take this one at the top here, this one at the bottom here, and apply it to stylings. So that's just, but there are a lot of one about it. So the most place we can use to use CSS important is when you are using a framework like Bootstrap or library, and also if you are using what do you call it, this style component also, because most of them you see they have importance. So this is the way of using it. And better way to debug our code is, if you have an issue, why is your code not working, is for you to check. You can inspect by pressing right clicking and press and click on inspect now. So now I would like to expand this a little bit so I can see what I want. And now I want this to be side by side like this. Now if you look at it here now let's see how the colors cascade now. You can see here. Now if you look at this now, this my text of paragraph is now you can look at it. It's telling me that this color of black, it has been overwritten, overridden. Yes. Now this one is no longer in existence, and this one is no longer existent. They can't use it because there is an important one there. So that's why it's canceling this. If I uncomment this now, then it will now take another one. It's taking this because that's the next important CSS. If I comment this now, it will take the next one, which is this color of black. Okay, yeah, this inline styling of color of black is taking it. If I uncomment this, it will take the ID. You can see that's the order. If I uncomment it, then it will take the last one that comes with it. That's you can see the order in which it comes. So I can briefly explain again. It's just now all of them have been cancelled. You can see. Let's see what the browser will tell us about this. I think there is always a suggestion for it, but it's just this value is just not being used. Now it's telling us we are using our the Rebecca. So if I remove this, it will change and take the one that's next to it. That's in this. If I remove this, it will take the one that is our inline styling. So, you know, after important, the next thing is our important style. If I remove this, it will now go back to our ID. Then just like then it will take it like that. The same thing if you are writing your style in your headings. It's just same thing applied to it. It will just take it like as an external styling also. So it's just the same thing if you are writing your style it does the same thing inside your HTML. So it will take the inline one will take precedence over others. So that's all about it. I think if I see what I plan here, so that's just it. Another way are checking specifically by inspecting in the browser. Another way we can also use is this W3 schools calculation. Now, which is a very good way. Now, if you look at it, it gives a value. It gives a value. Now, if suppose now let's just do that briefly. If suppose in my index.css now, I want to comment out where we have the importance. But one thing I want you to know is that whatever this value, this one will first take precedence. If no matter the calculation we are calculating here, if there's an ID will override anything that is class, whatever, if they are applying to the same color, no matter how you add them together with this addition, it will override them. But this one is only useful if they have the same level, like they have the same, let me say, class. So that's it. For example, here, if you look at it, P, if you are making use of calculation, I said I want to comment out this. Now, if you are having this text here now, from what we have here, this we're having a class of text. So we can, as been taught last time, we can select this as p.text. Yeah, because this, we are selecting the element like this with a value of this, with a value of this. Now, in this value now carries, the way it's being done here, if you look at this document now, if you are selecting elements, our selector is an element, any element will be what? Will be 1. Like now, if I'm taking PP, I would like to delete most of what I have here so that I will not be scrolling up and down. So I would like to delete this. I will still need the color declaration here at the top. So I would like to delete every other thing here so that I won't be having, yeah. Now we're having P. If I'm selecting P here now, my P, let's say my font size, my font size is this font size we have declared here. Sorry, I've commented out font size we have declared here. Now, this is what we have. I would like to undo this, then we have this. Let me just increase to 30 so I can see it visually. So this is the font size. So this is the font size. Now, suppose we have another P. Suppose we have another P with a class, and if they are adding a class, this is a better way, having a class of text. If you look at it now, here in our doc here, we are having a class of text. If you're having a class of text, if you're having this is a class of text here, we are having it here. Now I will put a font size of let me see, this one is 30. Let's just say 15 pixels. This one works. But let's assume that I'm moving this up like this. It still works. How does it work? That's where this our calculation comes in. We are going to calculate, because these are things that you are going to see. I've done an interview that something like specifically like this come out. Now, if you look at it here, any elements we have, be it an image tag, any elements we have, any HTML element will be taking, the specific value is going to be 1. So we can say here, so we are using, since this is a selector, we are using an element selector, our value here is 1. Now, if you are using a class, our class is 10. So let me just first write it out like this. Let me write the value here. Our class, the value is 10. I'll be commenting now, so we will having error. Our class, the value is 10. Then our element is going to, the value is 1. ID, yeah, I'll be following the suggestion a bit. Our ID is, the value is the value is 100. Yeah. Well, our inline styling, if you are using attributes, it's going to be the same thing, but I'm not going to be following the suggestion. I'll just be writing inline styling will be 1000. The value will be 1000. So the value will be 1000. So this is what we have here now. So that's where we are going to do a little bit of calculation. Now for here now we have as you can see now we have a P of class of text. So we are taking a selector of P, which is 1, and we also having a class that is 10. That will be 1 plus 10. So the value here will be 11. So the value here will be 11. If the value here is 11 and this one is 1, so the one with the highest specificity value will be one that will win. So it will take this font size of, that's why the font size of 15 is there. That's why the fact that this is done. No, it's not going to, this when they are equal, that is going to change, they are going to consider it. So imagine now, this our P that has a class of, now to have a class of text now, suppose it also have a class of, suppose it have a class of, also have an ID. It has an ID of text. Now, suppose it have an ID of text. Suppose it have an ID of text, and we want to add this here. We are going to represent our ID here is a text. Now, what do you think is going to happen before using the code? Now, let's just do our own calculation here. We are having a selector of P, which is 1. That will be 1 plus, and ID is 100. That will be 101. So this, the specific value of this is 101. The specific value of this is 1. Why this one is what? 11. So as we are guessing, this font size we have here, it's because we did not declare any font size. Let me just declare 50 pixels here. So this one will override. This one will be the value in which, because as we have said, if two elements are having the same styling, so they have two or more styling, the one that have the highest specific value will be the one that will win. So we expect that this one that is 50. Now you can see this one that is 50 is the one that is going to win. So the same thing like that, you can also try it. Suppose if you look at it now, this is an example. If you have one or more, you can have many, an element can have more than one or two text. Suppose as we have a text here, we also have a value here of a text of text P. Let me grab it. So if you take this one too, and we go to our index.css, if you take our index.css now, and we're also giving a text P, still it's not going to win, because by the calculation we have here, it's going to be 10 plus 1 plus 10 plus 10. That will be 21. So here will be 21. Still, it's not going to win the true 01. So that's just about it. Now you notice that most of our work, when we are doing we always say CSS reset. Now the reason why when you put a margin here, we are saying box sizing is border box, and our margin here is 0. Because this one doesn't have any value. Like now, this one doesn't have any specificity. It's also cascade. There will not be any padding. There will not be. You can see we don't have any pad. If I comment this out, you can see we don't have anything here. But because this one doesn't have, as it's been discussed, it doesn't have any value here. It's just 0. So if I come here and I give it a margin of 30, so it's going to definitely override, because this one has 21, why this one has 0. Even if it is P alone, if it's only P alone that is here, it is still going to override this one because it is 0. So that's why it is easier that we are saying that we should declare it at the top. So I'm going to remove it, but we can continue to add our own. So that's why we are having this our universal selector having a value of 0. So that's another way you can calculate specificity. But all in all, if you are using importance will override everything with this 1,000 other things. Let's just say that importance is more than 1,000. Like let's say it's 5,000. Or you can just give it an imaginary number, but whatever the CS value you have applied, this one important will override it. There's one exception to this. If you use important rule, it will even override the inline style. So you can just be careful when you are writing your style. Avoid inline style. The best way is adding class. If you add class to it, all of them will have a neutral ground. Like now, if I'm taking a text of this, maybe now I'm taking a text of this. I'm removing this. I'm deleting this now. So I'm just taking a text of class now. I can come down here, maybe in my media query, I can just write, I'm going to follow this suggestion so that I'll be faster now. Now this text now, because they are of the same value, this is 10 and this is 10, this one is coming last. So it will be easier, if I'm giving it 10, it will be easier to override, rather than if I put importance here, for example, if I put importance here, this will be very difficult. I have to use importance here also. Then you see importance. So maybe if you are writing a code, you are working for a company and you start writing important. Then before you know it, all your code base will just be having an important. At the end of the day, it's not going to make sense. So because if you have an issue at the top, you have to bring it down. Like maybe I wrote a CSS value and I'm putting important here at the top now. For you to now, if you want to override, you have to write it below that one. And it might not, maybe your work is, you have navbar, other things like that. So you have to take it far away where you have written it before. So it is not, it's just not the best practice. Because of time, if you have any question about it, about the specificity, you can easily drop it and we'll talk about it. So now, the last class we are going to be looking at is our background image. We are going to be looking at our background image. Now, what I'm going to do is this. Permit me to just comment everything I have here except the color, except this out. Yeah, so that this one is just, we can be using it, so it's add-on. So this is what we have. Let's go back. So we have this, we have our normal thing back. Now, how do we have, one of the, if I'm checking my notes I have here, yeah, if I'm taking my notes here, my background. Okay, we have different background property. We have different background property. We have background color, background image, background repeat, background attachments, and background position. So, and we also have the shortcut for it as background. That's the last one. So now, if I'm going to my index.css, that's where I have my CSS. I can just say, if I want to take the body now, I'm selecting the body element now. I want to give it a background. Notice now, let me start by giving it just a background without it, and it's just a bad practice. So just, if you want to give a color now, I want to give it a color of, I'm giving it a color of background. This is our normal declared background now. I'm giving it this color. Now notice it here. Let me go to my CSS and my browser and let's see what we have. If you look at this now, okay, I want to check my body. Now, if you look at it now, we have a lot of things. If you look at it, see a lot of value. So the best thing, if you want to give a background color, just state it out clearly. So our other value will just not be undeclared like this. So you can just, so if I'm giving it this, the first value of the background is background color. So this is very better. You can see now we have this. So we don't have any a lot of yeah, we only have our background colors. So that's the first one. So let me comment this now. This is our background. So this is our background color. Yeah, our background color. So these are background colors. Suppose we also, now the other thing is, now we want to have background image. Now, yes, let me add it here. I already have image here, and you can just go to online website to get an image, but I already have an image here which I call image. This is what I have here. Now I'm going to, sorry. So now this is what I have. I'm going to bring it in. Okay, let's just do it here. I would like to close this one back. Yes, so we can, yeah, I would like to close it so we can have something like this. Now I want to add the background image. Yeah, let me just comment this out for a second. Now let's add a background image. Now I'm going to write a background image. My background image here, I'm going to be using URL. So because I'm using this URL to reference an image file by URL. So it's like a function. Then I'm going to, where am I looking for it now? Then it's just the same folder. Then the name of the file is image.jpg. So if I save this now, so we have a lot of things. Now, if you can see now, so we have some of the default behavior. I would also like to inspect this. Yes, there is a GitHub Copilot that is suggesting. Now I would like us to, if I click on the image now I have my background. I already have my background image. So there are some of the defaults. They are defaults. We also have, from the document we have background image, we have background position, background. Let's start with background repeat. My background repeat. The default value is repeat. Let's say repeat on X and repeat on Y. This is the default value. If you see nothing will change, I will have to close this one so we can see it properly. If you look at it, this is one image here, and this is another one. Another one is standing, another one is standing. If I give it an height, a minimum height of a mean height of let's say a mean height of 100 VH. If I give it a mean height of 100 VH, and let me add a padding so that we can see. We have a padding. Okay, let me just give it the value we have here. I'm having this padding here. So we have this now. You can see it is repeating. You can see another one down here that is repeating. As it's repeating X, it's repeating on X. The first value is on horizontal, while the second value is what is vertical. So it's repeating on X and it's also repeating on Y. So, but that's not really what I want. I don't want that. What I want is that I don't want it to repeat. So you can change it. You can use that if I don't want it to repeat on X, if I say no repeat here, you can see it's not repeating here. So we only have this name. But here you can see now it's repeating down here. So we can also give this one also no repeat. So now you can see we have our image here. Nothing is repeating. We have it here. So that's just it. And you can, instead of writing it to, once you write it to one, CSS will understand that you are just trying to use just the same thing you are replicating. So that's that about it. And we also have background position. Our background position. Now our background position, the default one is top left. If I say top left, now you see nothing will happen. If I say top right, you can see it moves to the right hand side because that's it. That's the value. You can give it a value of center, or anyone you want, center, any value you want. This will give you what you want. You can give it, but the default value is top left. That's the default value. You can give it a bottom right. So it's going to move to bottom right. So that's just another value in background position, in background. And we also have background attachments. Background attachment is, do you want when you are scrolling? So let me move back to when you are background attachments. Our background. My background attachments, you can see we have fixed or we have scroll. I think the default one is scroll, but if you choose fixed here, assuming we have a lot of things, you can see now as we are scrolling, at this top left that this thing it is not moving away, so it's there. But as I'm scrolling up like this, it's scrolling another value you can use, or you can choose scroll. So as I'm scrolling up to, you can see as I'm scrolling up, both the image and both the image and both the text and the content are all of them are all moving. Let me see if there's any other value. Okay, I think I'll just leave it as fixed. I'll just leave it as fixed like this. So you can also, like, as we have no repeats here, you can also declare something like this, which if you wish, you can see we say no repeats. You have to start with double dash, no repeats. You say no repeats here, and which is going to be no repeats. Sorry, no repeats. So you have this value here, and you can just use it here. Am I getting no repeat like this? Yeah. So you can just use a value of no repeat like this. So it's still the same thing. Now we also have the last one we have on background is our background background position. Where do you want it to be? So if I go back to my CSS now, sorry, I say CSS. If I go back to my, okay, background size, sorry, it's not background. I want to background size. We also have order. You can see we have background clip. We also have background size. I'm stopping at background size. We want it to cover, will cover the whole space. For example, you can see it's covering the whole space. And I believe most especially this this is what most of with what most people want. I want it to cover I want it to cover the whole page I'm having. I want it to cover the whole page I'm having. So you can see content will just make sure that it's taking its default size without any extension. It's not contained. It's just as the size is. It's just how it's going to be on the screen without expanding in size. But most time we use cover so that we can see it can cover all the whole page. This one is cover all our whole page now, so we can scroll, we can do everything. So that's all about that. You can read more about it on, you check on MDN documents, background CSS. It's always an you can check CSS W3 school to give you more explanation. We have color and we have the shortcut also. So the shortcut is just once you start writing everything, the shortcut is what we have used before. When I write background then as red, so it has give others value as it has given them the default value once I write this. But if I write red, now what do we have? We can say, yeah, you can see if you see this suggestion, which I don't want to use now. Now this we already have the color. I already have the color just like we have the background color here. Then need to come. So it's already here, but it's going to cover the image. That's why I'm trying not to use it. But there's a way we can use it in CSS. Okay. No. Okay. This background color here, I think one good way of setting background color is if it's taking time for your image to load. If it's taking time for your image to load, instead of it to be blank, your background color will be the one that will show instead of instead you have a blank space, your background color will be the ones that will show. So now let's use the shorthand. We have red, our URL, which you already have here. You can just make it like this. We are going into our same folder, image.jpg, and you don't need to put space. Then I don't want to no repeat, so I'm going to type no repeat. Then where do I want it to be fixed? Bottom right. So all these things we can also put. We also have. I want it to be cover. I want it to be cover. So this is all the value now. So I can easily delete this. I can easily delete this, and I will have the same thing. So what's wrong? Let me remove this. Okay. Okay, because the default is contained. So let me check the shortcut here. I think it comes after no repeat. It comes after no repeat. The cover comes after no repeat. Let's see if it works. Doesn't work. So let me check the documentation and see, because it is using contain. That's why you can be able to see the image. If it's not using the contain, you will not be able to see that the default is contain. But if I want to send it to, if I'm checking the MDN document for background CSS and MDN, if I'm checking it, okay, if I check this, if I'm checking this now, Okay, center. Okay, you can see it has to be center. So it will come first. It has to come first. It has to come first. So it has to come first. That's our content. Oh, still not working. Uh, so wait, let me. So here we are. From what they have here in the docs, they're having. Let me expand it more than to cover my screen. We're having this. We're having our background as this is our background image here. This is our left. I think it's coming with. Okay, it's coming with center and content, but because okay, now let's assume we are placing our own. So instead of this bottom, I think okay, if you put here as cover, does it work? No, it doesn't. So let's try what they have done. Okay, I have content here already. Yeah, so you can see it works now. So this is just the shortcut of writing it. I still have bottom right and cover. So because it's now covering it, this bottom right is not going to work. So this is just way of it. You can scroll it, and if you want it fixed, it can also be put there. So that's how far we can go. You can also explore FDN documents to learn about more. But I believe this will give an introductory knowledge to also to background image. So there are way most of the times, yeah, most of the times the best way to hide your background image is adding it in CSS. We also have object fit that can ensure that if you are putting inside a div, you make sure that it's not it's not expanding or taking more than the width of the container, because here now the body is the container here. That's why it's span all through. But I can just make it inside a small div and it's going to contain it. So that's just about it. So with that, we'll come to the end of the class. Yeah, we'll come to the end of the class. We have covered most of what we have here as our topic. So if there's any question, I'll be expecting your questions. So drop the question in drop the question in the live chat there, and I will attend to it. So I have a question here. Can we bring, okay. Oh, sorry for those that can't see my screen, because I can also see it on my phone. So sorry for those that can't see my screen. I'm sorry about that. I hope that will be rectified. And I'm just seeing the message dropping now. So please, when using variable, you mentioned that it cannot be used elsewhere only if once it has been declared locally. So if I want to use the same attribute inside the variable elsewhere, how do I do it? Well, the best way for you to do it is just declare it globally. If you have the opportunity of declaring it globally, you want to use it elsewhere, you can declare it globally. Once it's been declared globally, you can use it any other place. So I think that's just I don't know if I've answered the question, but if you know you are going to be using the same color, you can just give it another value. Like you can have different color. You can say our color primary should be let's say color primary should be red. Then our color secondary should be red lemon or any other color. Then if you want to use it, then if you are using, you just use it like that. Just that if you want that color to be different, the only thing I think I didn't do is when I change the background color, but I'll still look into that and I'll give the response in the chat box. But if you are declaring something local, that means it's just that particular element attributes or that selector you want to use that value for. Since that one you want to use it for, so there's no need of declaring it globally. But if you want to use it for one in more 2 or 3 places, the best bet is for you to declare it globally. And what's the point of someone said Oyinda Mola said, what's the point of the global and local declaration? The point is just as we said, local and global. The one that you want it to be like anywhere you are, it's accessible. Like now, like if you are writing your code, if you are working on a project, there will always be a primary color that always appear like color of white or color of something color of white and color of this. So they're always like that. So all those one have to be declared globally. But you can have something that is particularly maybe a span as a text. So you can just keep that color related to that one. So that's just it. Someone asked that, okay, please, does the background still stay fixed when we decide the screen size? Yes, it will stay fixed. And you can also try it from your hand. Then if you have if it doesn't work or you have any other question, then you can always message me on Slack. Then we can trash it out together. So that's all about that. I'll be rounding up now because my time is up. So if you have any other question, you can post it in the YouTube comment section, or you can ask on the Slack channel. So that will be all for today. Thank you all for joining the class. I look forward to seeing you another time.